I want to ask you first, you directed this, shot entirely on iPhone. You're also the writer, is that correct?
That's true, but this film was made in quite a different kind of way, in that it was co-written with the cast and the people who appear in the film. So we wrote it together, we created the characters together, created the dialogue together.
So the concept is quite striking. Four friends head off to a remote location, you know, and they essentially are body swapped. And what struck me quite a lot was that, you know, that's one of the things we discuss constantly in South Africa, is that the lack of empathy and the lack of understanding of the experience of the other is what keeps people so far apart. And here you've literally placed people in each other's bodies to experience life as a South African from the point of view of the other. Was that your main goal, or was that sort of a progression or an added bonus of the film?
So it's a really interesting question, because that definitely was the point, you know, the thing that drew me to the body swap genre in the first place. But it wasn't quite as simple, you know, because whereas most body swap films, you know, people swap bodies and they get to know about each other, and then when they swap back, everything's fine because they now have better understanding and empathy for, you know, the person who's different to them. And it struck me that in a South African context, it's a lot more complicated than that, and I was wondering, you know, what would it actually take in order for us to understand each other better and empathize with each other's pain? And would it take some literal miracle of people actually swapping bodies, and would that even be enough? So the film definitely doesn't wrap it up neatly in the sense that, oh, well, if only we could just swap bodies, everything would be fine. Yeah. Yeah, I think you'll have to see it in order to kind of see where it goes with that idea.
So I definitely get the feeling you're not going to give us any spoilers there. You're not going to tell us what happens. But I do want to know this body swapping experience. I mean, the film is listed as a comedy drama, but there are elements of tragedy in it, I understand. So does someone die out there?
I mean, I think well, there's no violence, there's no death. I mean, well, there's, yeah, of a physical kind in the film, so you don't have to be afraid of anything like that. But yeah, it's a really difficult film to watch, because as you would expect, you know, young people in this situation, different races, different genders, different sexualities, if they were to, you know, swap bodies, I mean, it's at first you kind of laugh because it sounds like quite a funny thing to happen. But if you imagine that actually to happen to you, and the kind of crazy stuff that you would go through, and how that would challenge your friendship with the, you know, the people that you're friends with and that are different to you, you start to realize that there's like a lot of room for things to go wrong, quite dramatically. So yeah. And
I'm going to encourage our viewers to go and watch the trailer, because one of the things that is addressed, one of the issues that is addressed very directly in the trailer, is the issue of land, and it's a very current issue at the moment. And you get your characters to explore the viewpoints surrounding land in a very in-your-face way.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, the other reason that, you know, I think was drawn to the body swap genre originally was that I was looking for a way in which I could show how intersectional politics was affecting me and people of my generation, and that we're realizing, you know, all these things are connected. It's not just about race, it's not just about gender, it's not just about class, it's not just about land. All these things are kind of part and parcel of the same discussion. And so when people swap bodies, they're forced to encounter all these different aspects about being another person, and how, you know, these questions of power and who you are and what body you're born into determines the course of your life, and what you're able to own or not own, or what kind of power you are born into. Yeah, so it was a really, really interesting thing to investigate.
So it premiered at the Toronto Film Festival in 2017, receiving rave reviews from the critics. And earlier this year, it went on to win the Best South African Feature and the Award for Artistic Bravery at the 2018 Durban Film Festival. It's showing in selected cinemas later this month. I want to understand how you made it in terms of budget, and whether you're reaping the rewards in terms of post-release, because that's often very difficult. If you take on a brave theme, you make a movie yourself, are you making a huge financial loss even though it's a brave theme, or is it making business sense?
So it's actually screening right now in Cape Town and Johannesburg. So if anyone is interested to see it, you can watch it this coming week. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, making films is really difficult financially. Like, you don't do it because you're going to make lots of money. You do it because there's something that you really want to say, or there's something you really want to do, and there's a story you want to tell. So this film was made on a really, really small budget, intentionally so, because it just meant that there was more chance that we could earn that production budget back. And the claim that the film has received has been really, really helpful with that, and we've been able to get the film screened pretty much across the world, and it's taken about a year for us to get it finally back screening in South Africa. But yeah, I mean, we have a huge problem with distribution of local films in South Africa, and it's really, really difficult to make that sustainable if you're making, small South African films. There's a lot of issues that I think we, as an industry, need to kind of come to grips with really soon if we want this to work out, and if we want this to be an industry that's actually viable. But our film has done really well, and yeah, I mean, the best thing about it is that it's earned back what was spent on it, or it's just about to do that, and that means, the people who invested it can go on and make another one, and that's, at the end of the day, what we care about the most.
Right, thank you very much and congratulations. That was writer and director of local film High Fantasy.